Hi, I'm Bobby. I'm checking out Ultimate Sports Collectibles, and we're gonna interview Mark Neiman. So let's go check it out. Mark Neiman. I'm gonna be interviewing him, and he's gonna tell us a lot about himself. When did you start?
I started my business in 1991.
Okay. How old were you?
I was 14 years old when I started my business, and I collected baseball cards as a kid, and that's kind of how I started.
How did you come from a 14-year-old kid collecting baseball cards to all this stuff now?
You got a few minutes?
Yep.
All right. So, like every other kid in my generation, I collected baseball cards. We were at a local baseball card show in Ontario, actually right across the street from where my shop is currently located. And my grandfather took me to this show. And there was a guy sitting behind his table, and he had a whole mound full of old baseball cards from the 80s and 90s. And he said, "I'm done with this business." He said, $300, you can take everything. And my grandpa looked at me. He said, "Mark, do you want it?" I said, "Yeah, but Pops, I don't have $300. He's like, "I'll tell you what I'll do for you." He said, "I'll pay for it, but as you sell it, you pay me back. But you have to do it the right way. You have to go out, you have to get a resale license, a business license. You have to come to this show all the time." And he said, "But one thing," he said, "if your grades slip, that's it. I'm taking everything back." So I said, "Okay, Pops, you got a deal. Let's do it." So I started setting up at this show, and the promoter of the show would often have athletes come in and sign. And there was a guy who played for the Chicago Cubs, Hall of Famer. His name was Ernie Banks, and his nickname was Mr. Cub. And he was signing at this show. A lot of my family was from Chicago, so the promoter asked me if I wanted to sit down next to him and take tickets for him. I said, "That'd be great. I'd love to take tickets for Mr. Cub." So finally the day comes. Ernie Banks shows up at this place to start signing autographs, and Mr. Cub kind of took me under his wing. He was very intrigued that at only 14 years old, the type of business I had, and this and that. And so I worked with him all day, and at the end of the day, he said, "Hey, Mark," he said, "I want to invest in you." I said, "What do you mean? You want to invest in me?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I think it's really cool that at 14 years old, you have your own business and you're trying to do all this stuff." He said, he was charging for his autograph at this show. He said, "Go and get whatever you want, and I'm going to sign it for you for free." I said, "Okay, Ernie Banks, you have a deal. I really appreciate that." So I went. I had enough money in my pocket for 2 baseballs. He signed them for me. He put Hall of Fame on one of them, and he put Mr. Cub on another one. And he said, "Mark," he said, "I do not want you to keep these. I want you to put them into your," and I remember him, he went like this. He said, "Put them into your inventory and sell it." So that's what I did, and I started selling it. Well, when I was a kid, my dad traveled quite a bit. And so he had a lot of, they're called frequent flyer miles. So like you can get free airplane tickets. So when all these big shows would come around, I was very fortunate enough to get to go to all these big shows. We went to Cleveland, Atlanta, Houston, Chicago, like 15, 16 years old at this point. And we're traveling. Well, Ernie Banks was always at these shows. So every time we'd go and we'd see these shows and we'd be at these shows, Ernie Banks would take us in the back. And he would introduce us to other major league players and stuff like that, other Hall of Famers and stuff like that. So just like anything else, the best advertisement is word of mouth. And if somebody hears something good about you from somebody very respectable like Mr. Cub, it's as good as gold. So I got to meet a lot of other Hall of Famers, and that's how I started the marketing end of my company.
So was Mr. Cub the first MLB player that you ever met?
No, he wasn't the first player I ever met, but he was the first one who really took me under his wing and introduced me to a lot of other guys.
Then who was the first one that you met?
Oh, the first player I ever met. That's a good question. I met a lot of guys, maybe like Dave Stewart, but I can remember meeting Ken Griffey Jr. when I was only like 13 years old. There's a picture of us, and I say that's when we were both rookies. It was 1989.
Oh, okay, cool. Now can you tell us about all this stuff?
Absolutely. So you seen the movie The Sandlot, right?
Yes.
This here is an autographed Babe Ruth baseball. Autographed Babe Ruth baseball.
Cool. Okay, what is this right here?
This right here, this is a autograph. Pick this up here. This is actually from the bullpen at Yankee Stadium, signed by one of the best closers of all time, Mariano Rivera. Can you hang on to that? See how big that is?
That was heavier. I thought it was heavier.
You're strong. So this day right here, when he came out of the bullpen, he got his 316th career save. And he came out of Yankee. This was dug out of the bullpen at the old Yankee Stadium.
Cool. What is that glove right there?
This is a Yasiel Puig autograph glove. This was the glove that he used in home games in the 2016 season, the entire season. And he finished in the playoffs when they got eliminated by the Cubs, unfortunately. Try it on.
Not that big.
No, you like it? It's
Yeah.
pretty broke in, huh?
Yeah.
Then over here we have, so you're in 5th grade, right?
Yes, I am.
This here is Kobe Bryant's autograph when he was in 8th grade.
Do you know where Kobe Bryant is in this picture?
He's not in this picture, but his autograph is right here. And he wrote to the girl whose book this was. It says, "Blossom, you are a very good dancer and very sympathetic. Love, Kobe Bryant." She grew up 2 doors down from him. It's pretty cool, huh? This is a high school ball signed by Kobe when he wore number 33 in high school. He never went to college. Did you know that?
No.
No, you need to go to college. But back to the story about how I started. Life's all about opportunities. And when you get that opportunity, you got to make the best of it.
Oh, okay. What is this right here?
This here is an old picture from 1934. It has Babe Ruth. Actually, he was sick in the hospital at the time. You could never get away with that today, huh? Smoking a pipe in the hospital?
Nope.
Probably not. 1934.
All right. Thanks for interviewing me.
Hey, nice meeting you. Take care.